Okay, good morning, everyone. So it's an honor and a treat to be here. It's such a beautiful campus, and lovely to see you all this morning. So about 4 years ago, I went to the dean at the Harvard Business School and told him that I want to develop an online course in accounting. I had missed the faculty meeting the week before, and that's the meeting in which Dean Nitin Noria had announced that in his lifetime, he doesn't think Harvard Business School will do online education. I didn't know that, so I go to his office and I tell him, I want to develop an online course in accounting, and he asked me why. He said, every summer, about this time in August, we bring in about 1/3 of our MBA students who don't have a background in finance and accounting, and we put them through a boot camp. We teach them all the basics. It started out as 2 weeks, and we put our best faculty there. The problem was the following. The faculty did not want to teach in August. This is vacation time in the US, as you all know. Nobody wants to be around in August. The students didn't want to come 2-3 weeks early. You know, the students there tend to be a little bit older. They were all getting married, selling their homes, trying to take one last vacation before a 2-year program starts. So the program itself would get very, very high ratings, but the students were not very happy to come there. And as the chair of my department, staffing it was a nightmare for me. So I go to the dean and say, let's just create this online. As it is, we don't do like any cases there. It's basically problem sets and lectures. So we'll just put it online. And then, by the way, we will do this and we'll sell it to other people too. So that way we can recover the cost, and we'll do a very high-end job. We'll do a very good job. So that's sort of how this whole idea of HBX was born. And it wasn't just the accounting course that was a problem. Staffing finance, staffing economics, staffing statistics, all those things had been a problem. And so over the years, we had been steadily dropping courses from this summer foundations program that we were doing, not because the students didn't need it, but because we couldn't staff it. I found it very difficult to staff it, right? And we also wanted to kind of shrink this program. And it's not just the faculty and the staff and the students, the staff too. They didn't want to come in summer. This is their vacation time with their families. And so the staff would also say, oh, don't assign me to this summer program. So we decided to do this. And when we decided to do this, we said, okay, let's go high-end on this. And so we really splurged. I'm not sure I can show you a demo of this. If there is a way technology permits that, I'll try and do that next. But I'll tell you what lessons we've learned from this, doing this online course. So now it started with 3 courses, accounting, and a little bit of finance, in which I teach. Then there's a statistics course that Professor Jan Hammond teaches. And there's a microeconomics course, economics and strategy course that Professor Bharat Anand teaches. So that's how we started HBX Core. Now we added like 6 other courses. There's negotiations, there's disruptive strategy from Clay Christensen. And so we have added a whole bunch of other courses to this. We get about 5,000 students every year for the core course. After the US, India is the second largest market. There's a strong demand from here. And many business schools around the world have sort of made this either recommended or mandatory for students that don't have a background in accounting and finance. So that's sort of the background. So by the way, I want this to be much more interactive. So if at any stage, please stop and ask me questions. It's not important that I go through my slides. It's much more important for me that I answer your questions. Okay. So technology used outside the classroom, if you lecture, you can make a video of your lecture, right? You can put on your finest clothes, you put on your finest smile. I got the makeup done when I was doing my videos. I was so excited about it for the first time. So, you prepare your best presentation, line up your best jokes, just do it online in front of a camera, and it's there for your students. It's there for the whole world to see. You're selling yourself, you're marketing yourself. Just put it on YouTube. There's simply no excuse this stage to do a lecture in front of your students. At least that's my opinion. I know it's provocative, and some of you will be like, how can you say that? But I believe that. In fact, but for the interaction that might happen outside in a coffee break or a lunch break, this whole conference could have been done online. Okay? So, and you can make your online lectures much more engaging and interactive. So how do you make it interactive? You do a 2-minute video. First of all, the attention span we have discovered of our students is only 2 minutes. Beyond 2 minutes, you lost them. So every 2 minutes, you have to do something interactive. you have to ask a question based on what you just taught them. That's how you know that they're staying awake, okay? You have to do a survey because they're all full of opinions. So you do a survey and tell them this is what your classmates are thinking. Or you ask them to take a picture. Without taking selfies, their hands are twitching. So you have to ask them to take a picture and upload it. Then you have to have other people to like it or not like it or comment on it. Okay? The way human beings live and interact in the world has changed. So we as faculty can't be behind. So we have to co-opt them rather than fight it. So that's what we have done in these lectures, is to make them highly interactive. No videos longer than 2 minutes. Very quickly we'll do a cold call. How do you do a cold call online? Doesn't matter. You'll ask them and say, okay, I'm teaching something on assets. First day, first class, what's an asset? Within 2 minutes of starting an asset, I'd say, is Apple's brand name an asset or not? You have 2 minutes to answer, you type up your answer, and the whole class will see your answer. And they'll debate it, they'll comment on it, they'll disagree with it, they'll agree with it, they'll give it likes, they'll give it dislikes, thumbs up, thumbs down, all of that, okay? So you can do that online, you can make it very engaging, you can test if your students got it. That's what the beauty about this is, if someone falls asleep, you give them a question, they fail the question, they become aware they failed, you become aware in data when you go look back at it that they didn't get it right. And the thing is, if someone doesn't get a concept, you can keep giving them more and more questions till they get it. Very hard to do that in a classroom, the ability to customize it for each individual student. And that's the power of this kind of doing this online. Okay? They can do it at home, they can watch it whenever they want, they can rewind and watch it again and again because they didn't get it the first time, maybe the second time, they can do it. And there is no need to come to class to watch a live lecture, and this gives them more flexibility. Okay? It might puncture our egos, but in terms of effectiveness, it's just as effective. Okay? So what do I think will happen in the future? I think these lectures are going to be highly produced. What do I mean by highly produced? Like I told you, for the first time, I went in front of this camera, and there were 14 people in the room with me while this movie was being, not movie, I tried to think of myself as a movie actor, I guess. When this lecture was being filmed, there were 14 people in the room. There are 4 cameras running, including one with handheld because they want to look it natural with a shake, okay? So there are 4 cameras running. There is a sound guy. There is a director, assistant director. Then there is my RAs that are sitting behind. Like, the problem with a professor doing a video is that you write your script and you're also the actor. So immediately you're looking at, is this correct? I said that when I wrote the script, I said it, I'm not sure anymore. Can you actually Google that and find out and go to IFRS 133 and check whether it actually says this? So I have an army of RAs sitting there doing that for me, revising the script and driving the director mad because you don't want to change the script, but if you're the author, you get to change the script. And you're leading from this teleprompter, which is behind the camera. So these are highly produced, they're very expensive, they're in a very, very high-end studio where these things are done. They don't have to be, but if you're going to do it once, might as well go this, okay? The second thing is, it's not the filming that you can sit in front of your computer and do it. It's like, and say, look at Apple's balance sheet, and magically Apple's balance sheet appears on my right-hand side. And I say, let's take the assets. So I pull the assets out of the balance sheet. That kind of interaction between the video and the animation is what's possible when you're highly produced, okay? So that makes it much more engaging. And maybe they'll start hiring professional actors and they'll be dubbed with people with a great voice and a great accent. I don't know. That's probably where this is all headed, Why watch faculty? No offense, but not everyone is endowed with a good appearance. So why do you need to really have VG doing this lecture when you can get a highly paid actor to come and do this, right? By the way, there is an accounting lecture by John Cleese. If you know Faulty Towers, he teaches accounting. Of course, he's not an accountant, but he makes it very funny. So this is not unprecedented what I'm talking about. The professors may help write the script. Some professors have become superstars. Concomitantly, maybe 200 community colleges, professors will lose their jobs. I'm just forecasting what's going to happen over the next 40 years. Just like in agriculture, where 1% of the economy can provide food for the remaining 99%, we should not pretend that we are anything unique and that our jobs cannot become specialized. It is entirely possible that one professor teaches 10,000 students rather than 100 students. We simply don't need as many professors going in the future. That is what development is all about. When people specialize and fewer people can produce for everyone else, that frees up time for other people to pursue their arts or whatever else, okay? So that's why the yellow pages are getting thicker and thicker, because there are more and more careers available now, because one person can take care of lots of people. Education till now was exempt. It's no longer exempt. Okay? These videos will become the modern day equivalent of textbooks, textbooks that talk, textbooks that check if you understood, textbooks that have interactive exercises. It's the same thing, except that it's combining what happens in a classroom with what happens in a textbook. So let's call them MOOCs. People have debated whether these are massively open online courses. Our course, we get about 5,000 students, but in a given cohort, we put only 300 students so that we want them to have a feeling of networking with each other. So they're not massive, but the spirit is the same. They're online courses, and they're not open. Nothing at the Harvard Business School is open, and open I interpret to mean free, because we have some qualifications, we check their transcripts, we make them write essays to get into the program, etc. So it's not open. The way edX is open, the way HarvardX is open, you go in, put your email address, you're in. Okay? There are some advantages by doing it the way we do. We get about 85% of the students who enroll in our courses complete. Why? Because they paid $2,000. Of course they're going to complete it. Okay? And we give them, we examine them, we put them in a test center, check their ID, Pearson, the same exam center where they take a GMAT exam is where they take our final exam, and we give them a credential that says you passed and you got this honors, top honors, second honors, etc. So we are not quite a MOOC, but for the purpose of this discussion, we can call it a MOOC. Okay? And these are priced inexpensively in the following sense. You get 3 courses for $2,000, and I'm sure there are different price points. There are Wharton's courses are like free, but if you want a course completion certificate, it's $50, but they don't examine you, they don't test you. Okay? So who will adopt them early? Well, they'll be adopted by the schools that rely on value addition rather than selection and reputation. What do I mean by this? Okay? So the IMs of the world, the Harvards of the world, the Stanfords of the world, for a period of time, let's say 30, 50 years, they have this benefit of a reputation. The best students fight to get in. Okay? So really, it doesn't matter whether I do a good job teaching or not. The students are going to be great. It's very hard to take fantastic students and mess them up so bad that they say, oh my God, stay away from these students. If they're good students coming in, there'll be pretty good students going out. So really, these schools are looking at this online education saying, what's in it for me? I'm not going to adopt this. But we are finding the courses that we produce are adopted by sort of the second-tier schools, the third-tier schools. And they are saying, I will give them a lot of this content before they come to my program. In the summer, let them finish all these courses so that I can come and I'll do a 1-year MBA program. So these are the schools that focus on sort of taking someone and giving them a lot of skills and then making them very employable or increasing their salaries, wages, etc. So a lot of such universities are the ones that are willing to adopt it. I don't expect Stanford or Chicago to come and say, I'll do HBX. But I have tons of other schools around the world that have signed up. Okay? These are real, so we use a ton of real-world cases from around the world, including from India, that are featured in these videos. These are, we have some interviews and panel discussions, but mostly, if you're going to teach them depreciation of a machine, might as well teach them depreciation on a machine that makes potato chips in a highly automated potato chip factory. The students looking at this are so excited just to learn. The idea is not like that complicated, it's depreciation, but just having visually seen something, oh my God, I didn't know this is how they made potato chips. Okay? So, and I'm just giving one example. There are a ton of cases that we have used from around the world, all real-world companies. They're very active. We already talked about how to make them active. We do polls, we do surveys, we do questions, we do cold calls. There are exercises, there are simulations. They have to upload pictures, they have to upload videos, they're commenting on each other. That's how you make it interactive. That's how you make it active. The third piece, has to be social. Nobody can do anything these days without telling other people that they're doing it. There's very little that is private in the world. Okay? When you have something for food, you have to put it on Instagram. You go to a restaurant, they post it there. You go to Facebook, this is what I'm doing. This is the new generation. They can't sort of not do anything by themselves. So learning also is a social activity. How do they make it social? There's something called peer help. It's actually, we co-opted this need to engage with each other to help with our learning, right? We said, if you have a question, post it. We'll give grades for other people who answer it, and you'll give you also some 10% of the grade is based on how many questions you post. Not only posting that, you post comments, you post likes, you read some article and some newspaper related to what you're studying, post it here, other people will comment on it. And we found ways in which we can either automate the grading based on machines, or we will also have an army of RAs that sample this and grade this. So it's only 10% of the grade, but the students love it. It just is a much more social interactive. And the first screen that they get in is they log in and they see a map of the world. And they see every other student who's logged in at the same time, like a circle on the map. It's a dot on the map. You click on it, it pops up much like, you see a picture, their job, what they like, what they don't like, whether they're online now, and you can text them right away. So the minute they open up the course, there are like hundreds of thousands of these text messages and things which we can monitor going from each other. So they're basically coming there to create a network. Right? They have buddies, they form buddies. So everything that we do in our classroom, they do. So everyone in the same city doing the same course physically gets together in a restaurant Saturday evenings to go out for dinner. Somebody traveling from one city to another city, they'll say, hey, I'm coming there, would you like to meet up? So they make this a very social experience around this course, okay? What else? It's variety. You have to keep it gripping, you have to keep it exciting, you have to keep switching different elements that I just talked about. You can't just deliver a lecture in a monotonous voice. They'll go to sleep. They'll go to sleep in the classroom. If they can do it at home in their beds, of course they'll go to sleep. So you have to make it constantly switch it around to keep them engaged. The worst thing you can do is post a video of your lecture in the classroom. That's like watching your neighbor's vacation pictures. You can watch one picture, but after that you're looking at this saying, either I went on vacation by myself, okay, or I'll watch like 1 or 2 pictures from my neighbor. I'm not going to look and watch 1,000 pictures. It doesn't recreate the experience for you. The same thing about the classroom. Either you are there live in front of the teacher, watching a video of a lecture delivered in some other classroom is not exciting for other students. Okay? So you have to make this very exciting for the students. There are more opportunities. Gamification, you give them scores, you give them badges. You can work for this badge if you get 80% of your answers right. Celebrate them. Someone has put a star next to someone who's making comments so that others can see they've got 80% of their comments or questions right. Things like that. Constant feedback. How am I doing? How am I doing relative to my peers? The whole thing is automated, so you can automatically keep giving them feedback. What percentage of the course is complete? If they're falling behind, send them a reminder saying, hey, you're falling behind. Are you sure you don't want to catch up? We haven't seen you since 48 hours ago. What's happening? Is everything okay? So this kind of constant feedback, which is all automated, makes it much more engaging. It's individualized. Here's the most important part of online education. A lecture cannot be customized for every single student in the classroom. You have to hit the average, maybe a little bit of the range around the average. You miss the top students, they'll be bored. The bottom students will be confused. That's the nature of any lecture that you make, right? Online, you can customize it for every single individual student. You give a lecture, you test them. Some people are visual learners. Others learn by doing problem sets. Others are auditory learners. Some people do it by experience. So you can switch around how you teach something based on your understanding of what kind of learner they are. If they don't understand something, you make a mistake, you correct them, they understand the concept. 3 weeks later, if you test them, human beings will go back to the way they were. They'll make the same mistake again. So you have to bait them to make the same mistake again 3 weeks later. And that time they'll make a mistake a second time, but this time they'll be, ouch, I knew this. I learned this 3 weeks ago. How did I forget this? Once you bait them to make the same mistakes 3 weeks later, and then again another 2 weeks later, it starts moving from their short-term memory to their long-term memory. Then they own it for life. So this level, you have to remember which student made what mistake, what conceptual error they have. Remember it, bait them to make the same mistake 3 weeks later, another 3 weeks later, etc., till it moves to the long-term memory. Professors can do it only by accident to 1 or 2 students in the classroom. A computer never forgets. It can do this for every single student. Okay? So this power to customize is what's going to make online education much more powerful. How am I doing on time? Am I out of time? 5 minutes? Okay, I'll do. Will the classroom go away? Not at all, right? You cannot teach judgment online. You cannot teach communication skills online. I was looking at your conference proceedings. That's what you've been talking about. So experiential learning. So the give and take, negotiations, nonverbal skills, how you sit in the classroom, how do you learn from other people's posture about whether they are agreeing with you or disagreeing with you, whether they are engaged in a negotiation, can you take a chance and walk away? All those skills you cannot do online. All forms of experiential learning, very difficult to do online. Of course, the classroom is not going to go away, but it's going to change. Classes will be used for case discussions, presentations, debates, negotiation exercises, simulations, practicing the application of concepts learned from online videos, okay? And the students no longer have to be in one room. They can be all over the world. So you send them out to do projects all over the world, and then you might bring them back using some software like Adobe Connect, where in the afternoon or evening you run some classes so that people from around the world check in while they're doing projects around the world. Okay? And technology used in the classroom, video conferences to bring the protagonists for case from around the world into the classroom, students from around the world using VR sets. Imagine this, everyone puts on a VR set. It feels like they're sitting in a room like this, but they could be all over the world. There's no reason for them to be physically present here. All they need to wear is a VR set and they could be virtually here. Use of polls in the classroom, use short video clips. But here's the most important point I think about use of technology in the classroom. Don't be afraid to say no technology. The key word is appropriate use of technology. So in my classrooms, much as I'm a huge believer in technology, I don't allow any laptops or mobile phones when I'm conducting a case discussion. All laptops down and closed, all mobile phones turned off and stored away. Can't be off and sitting in front of them because a mobile phone is a contagious disease. When one person turns on the phone, around them everyone says, oh, I can also do it. Subconsciously, nobody's thinking this. They use the phone and then everyone else. So it spreads exponentially around the room. So in my classroom, phones have to be off and stored away. Same thing with laptops, because I want them to make eye contact with each other. And a laptop covers about 40% of your persona, and I don't want that. So appropriate use of technology could mean no technology in the right circumstance. While they're negotiating, while they're discussing a case, no technology. Okay, so we can't become slaves that we say always. Use it to your advantage when it's to your advantage, and turn it off when it's to your advantage. Okay, so that's what I had to say. Any questions? Yes, they had a ton of reservations. Initially, our alumni hated it. They said, I'm paying so much tuition, and you're trying to give it away for free or give it at a low cost. So they think of themselves as, a high-end. So this is a big conflict that I had with sort of the other people that think about Harvard, right? When 1636, when Harvard was started, I don't think the founders got together in a room and said, who can we keep away? Right? But that's what it's become now. It's become like a luxury good defined by who couldn't get in. Only 10% or 8% get in. That's ridiculous. Knowledge is supposed to be spread for anyone who wants it. It should be available everywhere. It can't be defined. When you start out, when the demand exceeds the supply, you have to be fair and you say, I'll take the best students. But today it has become some kind of like a luxury apparel, like a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW, where you try to show off as this label, which is exclusive. And I hate that. As an educator, I hate that. I want knowledge to be available to anyone who's willing to learn. Right? But the alumni initially protested it because they thought if you're going to make it available to everyone, you're diluting the brand name. So the alumni were opposed. There is some faculty who were opposed too, because they are like, wait a minute, if one accounting professor can teach the course for all the incoming students, what am I, rest of the department going to do? So this kind of threat perception when technology changes is there for everyone. So absolutely, those things had to be addressed. That's because the way the dean had pitched it was, we are case method and online education. He was looking at the way the MOOCs were being organized, where there were lectures that were posted online. I said, no, we won't do that. So even though we are in Harvard University, we didn't take the Harvard X platform. We completely from scratch created our own platform. Because the existing platform in Harvard X was simply not something we thought was conducive for business education. But now, the entire Harvard University wants to take our platform. The medical school came to us and said, can we use your platform? So we will see. I think going forward, we will probably, the way we looked at the existing online courses, and they were like, 80% of the time was lecture. For us, lectures were such a small part of even our lectures, because even our lectures had to be interactive. Other questions? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a Harvard alumni myself, and I'm horrified at the thought of my alma mater becoming a correspondence school, right? There's a relevance to what you say, but at the same time, I think wisdom probably lies in our ability to use technology and combine it along with our teaching. For instance, most of the people now would have got a WhatsApp kind of a thing where somebody has a beautiful shot of how an American company would advertise if they sell lungis. Outstanding marketing communication. I could use it as part of my class. But to go completely this way, for instance, I teach strategy, but I'm horrified at the thought of Shah Rukh Khan teaching strategy with my voice one day in the class. I think there must be some way in which we can balance this.
So let's go back to the time of theater, when there were plays all around the world. Can you imagine telling a thespian who's been an actor or the stage actor for 40 years, right? There must be, I know Maharashtra has got this, theater scene. Tamil Nadu does too, I'm probably Karnataka as well. Can you imagine the horror that these thespians faced when the talkies came around? Some actor who can't even sing, who needed to use a playback singer, simply for their looks, because they are eye candy, can come and deliver these lines. What horror of horrors. But that you just fast forward 40 years. You can be horrified, I am too. But some things are, the train comes barreling down on the track, you can shape it, you can play in the game and make it look like. So one of the reasons I told the dean we want to get into this is, and which he narrated in the next faculty meeting was, he said, whether we like it or not, this is happening. Our choice is, if we play this game, we may be able to shape the rules a little bit. Because we see what happened to information. Now it's provided for free, and all the newspapers are hurting. Whereas they're on a subscription model, and Google comes and says, okay, it's all free, because they have a different advertising-based model. We don't want the same thing happening to education. If we can forestall it, we may not have a choice. It could all be, education could be completely tuition-free, driven by advertising. I don't know, could happen. But I'd like to prevent it if I can. So much like you, we all have our horrors, and we try to do our best. But in the face of technology, there's only so much we can do.
But how do we balance it? I think the problem is that. The problem is like, for instance...
Yeah. If you don't mind. I would like to give an opportunity to everybody, and we can take follow-up questions in the subsequent session. Sorry, this is not as a co-speaker. This is as the person who's supposed to coordinate the session, so I have a dual role. So
Sir, hello, sir.
You tell me when I need to sit down.
So I would like... Sir, can I ask one question? Yeah. Yeah, it was a nice lecture. Do you think the MOOCs and online platforms like these other platforms also may emerge in future? Do you think these things will replace the institutes which are running through physical infrastructure, including IIMs, Harvard, IITs, etc.?
No, I told you in my last slide, I don't think they'll replace them, but they will change what you do on campus. So we might have to be open to move from a 2-year program to a 1-year program, because the opportunity cost for students is so high, they lose that. So we have to think whether there's some things they'll learn. We have to move to maybe a model of lifetime education, where they continue to learn by coming back to you for a week every year or 2 weeks every year, even after they graduate. So lots of opportunities open up when you embrace this. So I don't think educational institutions will go away, but how they function is going to change dramatically.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, ma'am, please, at the back.
Exactly fit in? Is it like, are we creating a totally new method of learning, bringing in diversity as an advantage? Or is it a kind of overlap over the books? Or like you said, a lot of exercises embedded, and we're in a classroom more lively. So is it a totally new kind of method that we are looking at in MOOCs? Or is it trying to replace existing successful methods?
So think about the following. What do I have to do as an individual versus what do I have to do as a group? Whatever I'm doing as an individual, reading from a book or listening to a lecture, I can do it at home or I can do it online. Whatever I have to do as a group and have to do experientially, I do it in the classroom. So it changes. This is the whole idea of a flipped classroom. You learn the concepts at home, you come to class to practice the skills. The case method has long been the same way. This just takes it to another level. Because in the case method, I assign all the theory readings to be done at home. But I have no idea if they read it or not. But now I can test it. When I go to class, I know who has read the case and who hasn't. Who has read the reading and what did they score out of it. So I think it just enhances my effectiveness in the classroom. So it doesn't completely change it, but what gets done in the classroom versus what gets done at home changes, and how effective you are in that changes.
Yeah, please.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for the presentation. Just a quick general question. My name is Rahul. I'm from Globson Business School. So when you look at the Western world, where most of the MBA students come in with some prior experience, as opposed to, let's say, an Indian scenario where that percentage is much lower, when you look at an online learning mechanism for an Indian ecosystem, where, when you look at adult learning intention being a primary objective, what percentage, or is there any data to suggest that people with experience coming onto online learning would have a higher chance of completion as opposed to people with less experience who are coming in through a linear education system?
So here's the thing you have to imagine. If you're teaching an MBA program and look at it 10 years from now, the kind of students who are going to come into your MBA program and the kind of learning method they're being exposed to is going to be very different. These are students, doesn't matter anywhere in the world they are from, in particular from India, they are going to be educated by MOOCs whether you like it or not. They have gone to edX, they have done some courses through their high school, through their undergraduate years, etc. The only thing you have to think about is, should I change or not? That's one. Second, the students are already familiar with this kind of pedagogical method. So whether you're teaching the same theoretical, so I'll put a list of subjects that are likely to adopt this first. In accounting, statistics, economics, finance, which are more quantitative. So they've already done physics, chemistry, biology online. It's an easy shift for them for these courses. Leadership, organizational behavior, strategy, you probably will continue to do it in class. So that part is sort of like how amenable is the subject matter to online learning is a question you have to ask. Second, when students don't have work experience, the only thing you can do is give it to them through videos, right? They look at a factory. This is what a production looks like. Here's a video of a meeting. So vicariously, you have to give them the experience. This is much more amenable to that.
Thank you.
Okay, if I have a suggestion, I think we have many questions. So let's do one thing. We'll take all the questions together, and then we'll let Professor Narayanan answer. And then we will have a few minutes towards the end also to ask specific questions. Can we do that? So we'll start with you, sir, then we'll come to you, and your question and your question. But we will do it all together. Can we do that? So please, your question. Please don't respond. We'll just...
Okay.
The first question is, how effective is learning through MOOCs versus classroom learning, assuming that the syllabus is the same, the audience in both the cases have very similar profiles, and so on and so forth. And the same course, let's say financial accounting 1 or stats 1, etc., etc. That is one question. And going forward, do you think that in formal classroom programs, do you think MOOCs can be integrated, or MOOCs will be basically for people who want to learn from a remote location? Or can they form part when you are having a conventional 2-year MBA program? Will they form part of that program also?
Thank you. On the last row, please. Would you please speak up? That should be okay. We can hear.
I mean, is there any kind of it could affect the learning cycle? I mean, with respect to the delivering online as well as the conventional method of teaching.
So your question, you had a question. You had a question, right? Yes. Okay, please.
I'm from Accelerate Jamshedpur School. We are doing it for last 10 years. And we are doing the preparatory classes for the students before coming to the institute. That's working fine. And also, like you, we also don't do MOOCs. We do certification programs through this platform so that we can get some money. So major problem is that we are talking about the customization of individual, because each of the people who are having work experience coming to do this certification with us, everybody takes it as a consulting assignment. I mean, faculty from us should consult them. So when you are talking about 2,000, 5,000 students, how you think about customization for each of the students is possible in this platform?
Okay. You have a question too? The final question, and we will...
I'm Anurag from Jaipur Institute of Management. My concern is that how you will do a query handling by a audience Because this is one of the important reasons why we come in a class or a student comes to class.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so let me address these 5 questions. How are effective are MOOCs relative to regular classroom? So the first time we started this MOOC, we did a pilot program where we restricted enrollment to Harvard University students and children of staff, faculty, and alumni. Why did we do it this way? We said if the whole thing breaks down, if the computer crashes, the server crashes, we'll just physically bring them to our classroom and teach them. We were not sure if this is going to work, okay? Luckily it worked. What we found was that about a very large percentage of the class, maybe 50–60%, were all Ivy League students, very, very strong students. They did extremely well on the MOOCs relative to our own MBA students who were giving the same quizzes in the past. That's why we moved online. We said, wow, this is very impressive. You know, they are undergrads, yet they're doing as well as MBA students. The following batch, we opened it up to the whole world, to the US, and then 2 batches later to the whole world. So that's sort of like within 6 months, it was available to the full world. Every quiz, the quizzes are the same. The questions are the same, right? We found that the batches were getting a little bit better and a little bit better. So what we learned, and after that it stabilized. After 2 batches, it's now been steady for the last, we open a new batch every month. We get 300, 400 students every month. So it's been steady, this course. But compared to our in-class students, these students doing online the same courses were just as good, if not better. And the students all over the world are just as good as Ivy League students, if not better. So there is really no doubt in my mind that the students doing the MOOC courses learn at least as well and learn at least as good, as much, and are as competent as people coming into my classroom. How general is this? Does it extend outside accounting? We know there is true in statistics and economics as well, but is it true in other subjects, operations management? Is it true in strategy? I don't know. But what we have seen is that it's been pretty very remarkable for us.
Mr. Narayan, can I give you 2 minutes to answer all the other questions, please?
Okay. I think some of the MOOCs will be used before people start an MBA program, but the MBA programs might shift from 2 to 1 year programs is how I think it will evolve in the future. Key challenges in creating an online course. First of all, it's very, very resource expensive. The way to animate it and create the videos, go around the world, get like CEOs of top companies to participate, etc. To do it at a good level is expensive. That's one challenge. The second challenge was the acceptance by other people is the challenge, convincing them they can be as good. But I think time will be easy to overcome that. How to create the customization? Right now, the way we customize it is sort of, and I'll take the last question of query handling together because those are related. These groups of 300 students we found is the right size. We put them in groups, and in those groups, they help each other. One person asks questions, somebody else answers it. We just observe it. If after a while they're not reaching any conclusion, we might jump in to provide the answer. But 99% of the time, they answer each other's questions. And that's how they build friendships with each other as well. The customization right now is built based on testing them. If they got it, we move forward. If they didn't get it, we'll teach it a different way. So that's the level at which there is customization right now. Other way in which it's customized is people can test out. So if there might be a palette of 10 courses, you test out of 4 of them based on your background. You just do the remaining ones for which your background isn't there. That's the only level. But I think in the future, when we can embed in it sort of the typical mistakes people make, conceptual mistakes people make, and then we bait them to make those mistakes, a course that learns about the student as it progresses, we need more artificial intelligence embedded there. But it's just a matter of time. I think in 5–10 years, the technology will let us do that. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.